Here in Orange County, California, many people think of wealth as accumulating lots of money. But for me, true wealth includes self-sufficiency, good health, and peace of mind. Homesteading didn't just change what I eat, it rewired how I think, which is one of the reasons why I've transformed my backyard into an edible food homestead. Today I'm taking you on a tour of my backyard orchard and garden. I'm sharing different ideas and inspiration for anyone looking to grow their own food at home and maximize their space to get abundant harvests year-round. Let's jump right in. Here is my tomato arch that won't stop producing tomatoes. Not only are tomatoes great for fresh eating, you can also use them in lots of different meals. I highly recommend growing tomatoes vertically. I'm using a cattle panel arch with T-posts for support, and it works wonderfully. If you have any questions about this type of trellis, let me know in the comments. Under the arch is definitely one of my favorite spots in the garden. Here we have sun sugar tomatoes. Sun sugar tomatoes remind me of sun gold tomatoes, with a little less acidity. Here we have yellow pear, which is a classic variety that I grew up eating. I love growing yellow tomatoes because they're really nostalgic to me. These tomatoes taste very mild, and I found they're great for picky eaters. These red tomatoes mixed in with the yellow pear are the Isis candy variety. Next, we have tried and true sun gold tomatoes. These are a stunning orange color, similar to sun sugar, which I love. And here we have Super Sweet 100 tomatoes. This is another red cherry tomato that's known to produce long hanging clusters of fruit. They ripen in different stages on the cluster, as you can see, so you can pick the cluster all at once when most of the tomatoes are red and let the greener tomatoes ripen on the counter. Or you can harvest some red tomatoes individually and then wait for the green tomatoes to turn red on the vine. If you're growing a tomato variety you think I should try growing next year, please comment below and let me know. This is the Bumblebee Sunrise tomato on the right, and more Super Sweet 100 tomatoes on the left. I harvested these tomatoes to share with friends and family, and the vines are still crazy packed full even after this. Now, you may have noticed there was a vegetable hiding in plain sight under the tomato arch we just walked through, and that vegetable is green beans. These little guys blend in with the vines and the tomato plants, so it's kind of like I Spy. You can see how far they've climbed at the top of the arch, and here are some of the beans up close. I'm so impressed at how many of these are hiding among the leaves here. I did a little harvest, and now I have veggies to go with dinner for the next couple nights. Moving on to the other side of my arch, here I'm growing mini pumpkins. Now these are so cute, and I am such a big fan of the fall season and Halloween, and these little pumpkins just make such easy classic decor. These are the Jack Be Little variety, and I got my seeds this year from Botanical Interests. Right now the pumpkins are starting off white or light orange, but they'll develop into a gorgeous deep orange color as it gets later in the season. I also love how the pumpkin vines climb the arch quickly, and they have such nice big green leaves that provide a lot of shade cover. I'm so excited to see what the arch looks like once all the pumpkins are at their final orange color right in time for fall. Here is a quick clip of what the pumpkins look like when they're ready to harvest. Moving on to the next planter box, here we're growing some yellow squash and zucchini. We don't seem to have any issues with squash bugs or squash vine borers in our area, and we've been enjoying lots of squash and zucchini harvests. This is another vegetable that is very versatile. I like to season them with herbs and spices and enjoy them as a side dish, or make zucchini patties with dipping sauce on the side, or even use them for zucchini or squash pasta. You can see how huge this guy is compared to my hand and forearm. If you've never made squash or zucchini noodles, I highly recommend giving that a try. This will go great with dinner this week. Now, moving to the right side of my second planter box, here we have a little forest of nasturtiums. These are the Amazon Jewel variety, and I specifically got these because they're meant to be climbing nasturtiums, and I wanted something that would grow vertically and fill in the left side of this cattle panel arch. More to come on if my vision for these will become a reality. On the right side of this arch, I'm growing sugar snap peas and some cantaloupe. The sugar snap peas have been a big hit with my family and our extended family who have visited. They're easy to pick, and so many are growing that everyone's been able to harvest as much as they want. And here is my cantaloupe. This is the sugar cube variety, and it's growing and climbing the trellis well so far. No melons yet, but we'll see how many of these pretty yellow flowers turn into fruit. And now let me take you to the other side of this planter box to show you some interesting things, including this corn you can see through the arch here. At the front of this planter box is something I can't wait to eat, and that is Chinese pink celery. This celery is super flavorful, and I've used it in soups and stir fries with great success. I plan on also juicing some of this to see if the juice is pink like the stalks and compare it to traditional celery juice, which I love. Speaking of traditional celery, I'm also growing green celery, which you can see here. Celery loves water, so I have an irrigation system set up to water this frequently to make sure it gets the moisture it craves. And next to my celery are these carrots. You can see when you lift up the carrot tops that there are little carrots crowning at the top of the soil. Let's harvest a couple of these just so you can see. This one looks great. This is from the Carnival blend carrot seeds from Botanical Interests. I also saw another carrot that looked to be a giant hiding in a row over to the left, so let's find that one too. This is definitely a big one. If I gently pull back the soil here, I can see the crown on this carrot is very wide. Let's harvest this and see how the size compares to the orange carrot we just pulled. It's looking a lot bigger, but let me put the orange carrot next to this just for comparison. Yep, this pink carrot is almost twice as big. I bet it got more water where it was planted, and now I'm curious what other size carrots are hiding in this carrot patch. Here are some of the rainbow-colored carrots I've previously grown from seed and harvested. These are so much fun to look at, and they make for very colorful and exciting recipes. One of my favorite recipes is roasted carrots with fresh herbs from my herb garden. I'll show you my herb garden later on in this tour. Next, we're moving out of the carrot patch and into the corn maze. Just kidding, this is not a maze, but I am growing a few stalks of corn, and not just any corn. This corn is mostly the Painted Hill variety, which is very colorful. Here is some of the corn I've harvested. You can see how diverse and unique each corn cob is, and that is exactly what I'm growing in these 3 planter boxes on my lawn. I can't wait to harvest even more things soon. Now let's move on to a different section of the lawn where I'm growing 2 different types of bananas. The first type here is Blue Java, also known as ice cream bananas. You can see we have a nice rack of bananas coming in. I made a video all about growing bananas, which I'll link on the screen and in the description box. We have our banana flower here, and we usually cut this off to help redirect the banana plant's energy into fruit production and plant growth. The bananas are looking healthy and plump, so it's only a matter of time before these start to turn yellow and we get to enjoy some delicious homegrown bananas. Just wanted to point out that we did prop up a 2x4 wood plank against the main stalk of this banana plant to ensure it doesn't fall over from the weight of the bananas or from the wind or other weather. And just a tip, bananas love mulch and nutrients. So we've heavily mulched the base of our bananas to give them some extra coverage and nutrition. And to the right of our Blue Java bananas, we're growing another banana variety called Dwarf Brazilian. And wouldn't you know it, this banana plant is also fruiting for us right now. These bananas are still coming in, and they're not quite as round and full as our ice cream bananas, but the flower is still opening, and we'll see how many more bananas we get. You can see some banana blossoms under the flower petals, and when it's sunny out, the bees have been loving flying under here because the banana blossoms smell so fragrant and sweet. Besides eating them fresh, I'm thinking I'll make some banana bread and chocolate-covered bananas as a little sweet treat. Here are some ice cream bananas that we've harvested. We noticed the bananas turning color, so we ended up cutting a few bananas off the rack while they were still on the banana plant. And then we finally ended up harvesting the remaining racks of bananas all at once, and we took them inside to ripen. From this crop, we actually got about 60 bananas, so that meant we ate lots of bananas fresh, we shared them with family, and I made some delicious banana bread muffins. Here is one of the ice cream bananas that I'm peeling to show you what it looks like. These bananas are cute and easy to peel, and they don't seem to have as many strings of fiber as the bananas you buy at the store. Okay, the next fruit we're growing is one of my favorites, and that is blueberries. Here we have 3 blueberry bushes in wood barrels on part of our patio. We've netted the blueberries because the birds and other critters just love them as much as we do. These nets help prevent most pests from taking our berries before we can enjoy them. You can see the blueberries are ripening in different stages. In this barrel, we have our Sunshine Blue variety. This plant produces lots of blueberries for us year after year here in Zone 10B. This plant is a consistent producer, and we end up freezing some of the berries and using them in lots of recipes like smoothies, jams, and even homemade blueberry ice cream. I made videos all about how to grow blueberries at home and make homemade blueberry ice cream. Those videos are both linked in the description box. Over in this part of our yard is our mango grove. Now, we're growing a few mangoes in the ground, which I'll show you shortly, but over here we have a few mango varieties that we're currently growing in containers. Several of these varieties are currently bearing fruit, and it's always a struggle deciding whether or not to let them because we want the mangoes to grow, and allowing fruit production while they're in containers still at a smaller size can sometimes inhibit growth. Earlier this month, I posted a video using one of our homegrown mangoes to make homemade mango salsa. As expected, it was delicious, and I've never had a mango that had no pulp or fiber and was as smooth as this one. The variety is orange sherbet, and it's one I would highly recommend for its amazing flavor and texture. Now, over in this part of the yard is our grape arch. This is somewhat of an experiment because we're growing 4 different grape varieties on this arch. Here we have Einset grapes coming in, and also on the left side of the arch we have a Kyoho grapevine growing. And then over on the right side we have a Sunbelt grapevine with some grapes you can see here, and these should turn dark purple by the time they're ripe. And next to the Sunbelt vine is what we believe to be an interlochen cutting that has really taken off and grown quite a bit. In just 1 year, you can see that several of the grapevines have reached or almost reached the peak of this arch. We planted all 4 varieties last year, and they've really grown well, with 2 of the 4 producing fruit for us so far. Next stop on the tour is my herb garden. This is the new spot where I come to gather and harvest fresh herbs to use in the kitchen. I have some rosemary in a container over here, because if it's not in a container, it can really grow wild, and then some sweet alyssum right below it. And right here is my oregano. This gets lots of use between making homemade oregano oil and lots of different savory recipes. And this little guy right here is a volunteer watermelon vine. If you guys have seen my previous videos, you'll know that part of the charm of my backyard is a volunteer watermelon vine, and a watermelon or 2 seem to pop up in the garden every single year. We've just gotten used to it at this point, and we let them grow. This watermelon is looking cute so far, and we've protected it from critters with this little cover here. Next up in the herb garden is thyme. Thyme is an underrated herb in my opinion. It has so many different uses and benefits. And behind it are some chives. And here is my sage plant, which I also harvest from frequently. And the final herbs in this middle section here are dill and fennel. These can grow quite tall, and when the dill flowers like it's doing now, it attracts beneficial insects like parasitic wasps, which can help keep harmful bugs at bay. Behind the herb garden is one of our many grapevines. This variety is Rameli. And along the fence perimeter here on the left, we have 3 more grapevines going up our slope. Those varieties are Interlaken, Venus, and Lakemont. And then we also have 3 citrus trees, starting with the Meyer lemon tree to the left here, and then a Valencia orange tree, and a Washington navel orange tree at the top of the slope. And this trellis and the one behind it on the slope are new additions. We decided to relocate our passionfruit vines to these trellises on the slope. We've transplanted our passionfruit and we're patiently waiting for the vines to cover the trellises completely in a sea of green foliage and fruit. Now to the right here we have another row of citrus. In the front is our Algerian tangerine tree, and I'll insert a clip I have from when it fruits. These tangerines are very juicy and sweet and make for a wonderful treat. Behind the tangerine tree on the slope is a cara orange tree, which was super hard to find when we got it. And then the tree at the top in this row is a tangelo tree, which is a cross between a tangerine and a grapefruit. Moving on to the next row here, we recently added in a Meiwa kumquat tree and an Awari satsuma tangerine tree. Here's what the Meiwa tree looks like when it fruits. These taste amazing, and they're very sweet with none of that traditional bitterness that many kumquats have. You can also eat the skin, which is a plus. In the front of our next fruit tree row, we have a big Lamb Haas avocado tree. This has produced quite a few delicious avocados for us. If I had to describe the taste of these avocados, I would say they're much creamier and oilier than standard avocados, and they taste super rich and flavorful. I made guacamole out of one the other day and it was so creamy I hardly had to mash it. Behind this avocado tree we have 2 more avocados, a Fuerte and a Reed avocado. And in this next row we have 2 cherry trees, a Royal Crimson cherry and a Royal Lee cherry. The cherry blossoms on these trees are beautiful in the spring. And in the following row at the top we have a Tropic Gold apricot tree. I never knew I liked apricots until I tried homegrown apricots from this tree. There are so many apricots and we enjoyed lots this year, which was such a treat. Also in this row is a cotton candy aprium and a burgundy plum tree here at the bottom. This tree keeps getting bigger and bigger every year, to the point where soon we'll either need to top it or start using one of those long fruit harvesting tools to reach fruit at the very top. The plums on this tree are great, very juicy and a beautiful purple color. There are still some plums on the tree now, which you can see hiding in this foliage. It looks like a bird got that one, which is okay because there have been more plums on this tree this year than we can eat. Here in this next row is one of my favorite homegrown fruits, and that is peaches. This is our Desert Gold peach tree. When this tree fruits, here is what the peaches look like. We've harvested hundreds of peaches off this tree for quite a few years, and I love using these yellow peaches to make peach jam and peach ice cream. We do try to net this tree sometimes to keep birds out, but thankfully it's a heavy producer, so we still end up with tons of fruit. Here is just a small handful of the peaches we harvested this year. Behind our Desert Gold peach tree, we have a Red Baron peach and an August Pride peach. And then over on the far right side of the slope, we have a Haas avocado tree, along with a sweet tart mango, an Edward mango, and a keep mango in the middle, and then a spicy nectaplum tree at the top of that row. And all along the back perimeter of our fence are grapevines. One of my favorite grapevines is our Jupiter grapevine here. This vine has been a vigorous grower, it's produced delicious fruit, and we've gotten lots of abundant harvests. Here's a little clip of what the Jupiter grapes look like. They're a beautiful boysenberry color when they're ready to harvest. These grapes are sweet, they have a hint of muscat, they're also seedless, so no need to worry about any seeds when you enjoy these. And like I mentioned, on the remaining perimeter of our fence on the right, we're growing many different varieties of grapes. Let me show you some of the grapes we've harvested and I'll tell you about the different varieties we have. From left to right here, we have a mix of Spartan and Lakemont grapes, then a mix of Venus, Mars, and Sunbelt grapes, and then Reliance grapes, followed by NY 47616 grapes, then Interlaken grapes, and finally we have some Tom Cord grapes. Each one of these 9 varieties of grapes has a different flavor profile, texture, and overall taste. Moving on, in this part of our lawn, we have several stone fruit trees. This is our beauty plum tree, and it's packed with fruit. These are one of the juiciest plums we're growing, and the fruit and skin is very sweet and flavorful. Over here, we have 3 types of berries. This is an Olallieberry on the right, and in the middle we have a marionberry, and on the left is a boysenberry. We just installed these trellises and transplanted our berry vines not that long ago. We used these T-posts and a cattle panel so the berries could climb vertically. I'm excited to see how much these grow over the next year. We did have a couple berries here, but the birds got them, and that's okay with us. This year we're focusing on vine growth. You can see these vines are growing outward, and our plan is to let them cascade down our retaining wall for now, and we may keep them pruned back a bit as needed. Over here, we have 4 more blueberry plants in containers. These varieties are Peach Sorbet, Misty, Emerald, and Bountiful Delight, which is netted over on the back left. And here we have yet another volunteer watermelon vine that just randomly popped up. So we're protecting it with this little cover while the vine grows. I really like these covers, so I'll link them in the description box. Here is our kiwi arch. These vines are looking really healthy, and the leaves are really velvety and a little fuzzy. The vine varieties we have growing on this arch are Tamuri, which is a male variety, and Vincent, which despite the name is a female variety. And under this arch we have 2 more blueberry plants, and these varieties are Jewel and Pink Lemonade. Pink Lemonade has been a fun experiment to grow. Because it needs more chill hours, typically closer to 250 or 300 to reliably produce fruit, we're just seeing what happens with this one. And behind the blueberries, we have a marquee grapevine. This vine is a new addition to our yard, and it's already grown so much this year. If anyone is growing marquee grapes and can comment on how they taste, let me know in the comments. You can see that so far we've trained this vine to grow in 3 sections. And over here we have a Sri Kambangan Starfruit, a Grimmel Jabotica, some Longan seedlings, a Black Madeira fig cutting, a White Jade pineapple plant, a Sabara Jabotica, and this tree here is our Dapple Dandy Pluot. This fruit tastes delicious and it has a balanced plum and apricot flavor. Over in this section of our lawn, we have a Flavor King Pluot. You can see the tree is loaded with this pretty pinkish purple fruit. This fruit is really sweet and it has a berry and plum flavor to me. And next to the Flavor King, we have a Sweet Treat Pluerry tree. This tree is a cross between a plum and a cherry, and it's grown well in this spot, but we'll have to prune it back a bit since it likes to grow a bit wider than we want it to. And for the last stop on today's tour, we have a bunch of different dragonfruit varieties on the 3 wooden structures here. And behind the dragonfruit is a super vigorous possum purple passionfruit vine. When these little guys are ripe, they are bursting with passionfruit flavor, and they're so fun to eat plain and also to add to smoothies for a tropical twist. Thank you so much for joining me for this tour today. For more videos, I invite you to subscribe, and I think you'll like this playlist where I share how to grow your own food at home and get abundant harvests. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video.